Are you serious? Are you serious? Get a cup of coffee, everybody, and thank you for being a member of Patreon. How red is Hollywood? Well, this article was written by Myron Fagan. This magazine, Red Treason in Hollywood. Now, this is from 1949. This is the original magazine. It is in my very distinguished library, which was so graciously donated. Some of the greatest books ever written on the New World Order, the Illuminati, the rise of communism, the occult, everything you can imagine. I've got original books, unbelievable. Now, if you was watching our show last night live, I read from this original copy of H.G. Wells' The New World Order, and I read from it. This was written in 1940. 78 years ago, he told us that freedom of speech was the greatest threat to a democracy. Now, Red Treason in Hollywood, this is so important to understand how Hollywood was hostilely taken over by the communists and the New World Order. Let me read. The author of this book is one of the great producers, writers, and directors of Hollywood and Broadway. Because of the facts, though, he revealed in this volume, Mr. Fagan was blacklisted by Hollywood moguls who love profit more than patriotism. J. Edgar Hoover said, "Tell Fagan from me that he has hit upon one of the only surefire method to wipe out all the reds out of Hollywood," and that's talking about communism. "It will arouse the entire nation and break the back of communism in America." And here, I don't want to. This is so fragile, but there he is. That's J. Edgar Hoover, okay? Now, I just want to read some of this to give you an understanding exactly what he wrote. The pages are so frail, so old. Published in Hollywood, California, 1949. This is the first edition. It's 8:30 p.m. This is Hollywood. It's 8:30 p.m. on the night of December 26, 1947. The curtain of the Las Palmas Theater in Hollywood, California, rose on the world premiere of what's called Thieves' Paradise, the first play to expose the communism behind the Iron Curtain in Bulgaria, to be exact. There was no distinguished actors in the cast. There had been no advanced public fanfare, such as the name of the author should normally have occasion. This was the 43rd play written by Myron C. Fagan, and many of them resounding Broadway hits, which had been acclaimed with fervor by the Los Angeles and Hollywood critics. But these same critics handled the advance announcement of Thieves' Paradise with gingerly reluctance, because those announcements, frankly and boldly, proclaimed what they would see in this play is what Americans would expect if communism ever gained control over here. In fact, the press virtually gave this world premiere a virtual important play by an author recorded in Who's Who in the theaters as one of America's foremost playwrights, a silent treatment. Nevertheless, a great audience assembled for this opening night, great in numbers, great in distinction. There was Rupert Hughes and Adolphe Menyes and Robert Montgomerys and Fred Nibbles and Senior and Junior and Ginger Rogers even in attendance. The cream of Hollywood's notables all came early. Some went directly to their seats, others clustered in groups in the lobby of the theater. The sidewalks on both sides of the street were clogged with a mob of avid curiosity seekers. There was tense excitement mixed with apprehension in every face. Whispered comments, nervously shrilled tones betrayed the general expectancy. Throughout the rehearsal weeks, the Reds in Hollywood had vowed that Thieves' Paradise would not be allowed to open. When he says the Reds in Hollywood, he's talking about the communists. In the waiting crowd, predictions were made and wagers laid that the curtain would not go up. And at 8:25, the curtain warning buzzed in the lobby. The startled seat holders rushed to their seats. The lights in the auditorium slowly began to dim. The golden red glow appeared in the floodlights. The audience hushed into breathless silence. Then a great sigh broke it as the curtain went up. For 5 long minutes, everybody sat tense with nervous anticipation. There had been threats of bombs and other forms of violence. Then the play swept into stride, and the audience forgot the threats. The final curtain was followed by 15 minutes of wild acclaim from the audience that was principally professional and not easily enthused. Night after night, the enthusiastic audiences crowded into La Palms Theater. The New Year's Day performance was to be the gala celebration of an American victory in the very heart of the communist stronghold, and their threats held up to scorn. Only there was no performance that day. Why? The leading man, Howard Johnson, was laying unconscious in St. Vincent's Hospital in California, terrorized into a nervous breakdown by threats of torture and death. As later proved by an official investigation by the Actors Equality Association and the American Board of Arbitration, likewise the understudy driven into hiding by similar threats. The communists had met the challenge, and they had won. And now, pardon, I beg of you, my lapse into the first person, but I have paper at hand and pen poised, waiting vainly for words. I cannot approach this vile, vicious treason by a people I have always called my people, by a profession which is my profession, without a feeling of fumbling inadequacy. I have a choice between 2 horns of a revolving and sickening dilemma. I must either expose, denounce, and indict the very people I have loved, lived with, and worked with all my life, and be accused of rank heresy, or I must remain silent, and by that silence stand guilty of treason to the land that I live in, America. But actually, I have no choice. By the grace of God, I am an American. This is my land. Here is where I have lived all my life. Here is where, in God's good time, I shall die. No, I have no choice. The question has been coming to me ever since the night of December 31st, 1947, when the abrupt closing of the play Thieves' Paradise burst into the front pages all over America. It comes to me from everywhere, even from London, Paris, Dublin, Ireland. It comes to me from the clubmen and the clubwomen, the statesmen and the clergymen, from doctors and lawyers and merchants and manufacturers, and from the stockholders in the motion picture industry. And it is never, is Hollywood red? No. How red is Hollywood? My answer is, how deep is the ocean? How high is the sky? That's how red or communist Hollywood truly is. And then it goes on and on. This is a magazine that he wrote in 1949. And he says, and so this is like the day that it all comes to here's the author right here. This is Myron Fagan, okay? And this is his article. Back in the days in 1949, this sold for $1 US, okay? And he exposes all of the people involved in the communistic movement of Hollywood to reshape the minds of the American people. Now, as he gets into the magazine, he'll talk more about communism and how it was really to bring about a totalitarianism or a one world governance, which is the same thing as a new world order or in the biblical beast in the Bible. So when you say, well, do you see what's going on lately? It's not lately. It's been going on in this country. Just as the war ended in 1945, we had already been taken over in certain segments of our society. The entertainment industry has been literally consumed by a globalist, New World Order Illuminati agenda. And it is spread from Hollywood to academia, certainly the media, and many other areas, and the swamp, and many other areas where hard-nosed globalists, communists, super socialists, they like to call themselves now, and all of them with the intent on breaking the spirit of America. You see, they don't love America. They love power. They don't want America. They want to be a part of a world governance. And they believe if they play their role, they will have a seat at the table with the elitist to determine the fate of the whole world. And this is Luciferianism. And this is what it means when we talk about the beast shall rise in Revelation chapter 13. And this is why John, when he saw it, said it was ugly. It was huge. It had 7 heads. This is why Daniel, when he talked about it, he described it as vicious, with teeth of iron, and power, and devouring everything in its path. These prophecies from the ancient prophets of the Bible told us and forewarned us of a time that would come when men would have to worship the image of the beast, when men would have to worship the Antichrist and be under the spell of the false prophet. And now in today's we don't have theaters. People don't, we still have plays, Broadway plays, obviously, and other places. But theaters now. Now it's the television, movies, entertainment, the internet, and every other source of possibility to your iPhone and mass media. We are watching the beast rise right before our very eyes. And it's not something new. This isn't a new wave, and it's also not going to go away. Neither will Jesus Christ. Greater is he that's in you than he that's in the world. We shall not succumb to this lying devils from hell, but instead we will fight on with the victorious banner of the cross. We shall win. We have won. And when you read the entire biblical narrative, you know at the end of the day, Christ shall reign. Lucifer will be defeated. But it's the path to get there that we need to educate people to understand that they're living in the days of the rise of the beast. The end times are upon us. And so when John said, I stood upon the sand of the sea, Revelation 13, I stood upon the sand of the sea, and I saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads, 10 horns. Upon those horns, 10 crowns, or 10 kings. Upon those heads, the name blasphemy. The beast which I saw had it looked like a leopard, but feet like a bear, mouth like a lion, and it is Lucifer, the dragon, that gave him his power, his seat, and even great authority. And I saw one of the heads as it was wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed, and all the world wondered after the beast. This miraculous miracle, 3 times in Revelation 13, does the Lord refer to the beast that was healed and survived. So there is a moment coming when this beast will be survived a miraculous mortal wound. And after surviving, will rise up to take the power of the world. My encouragement to you is, have no fear. For the Lord hasn't given us the spirit of fear, but of love and power and a sound mind. If you want to know why Hollywood has been so corrupted, so immoral, so godless, so blasphemous, so demonically in charged, it's because they, down in their soul, the Luciferians, paid for it in blood. How red is Hollywood? Real red. Give your life to Jesus Christ. He's coming soon. I'll be back with more here on Patreon. Thank you for being a member and a supporter of Patreon.